Hi there. We'd like to introduce you to the Data and Digital Scholarship Working Group. The facilitators are me, Sara Mannheimer. I'm the data librarian at Montana State University, and Jason Clark, who's the lead for research informatics at Montana State University, and he'll be talking later in the video. The DLF Digital Scholarship and Data Services Working Group is a community of practice that's focused on implementing research data and digital scholarship services. The group focuses on shared skill development, peer mentorship, networking, and collaboration. And our group aims to create a self-reliant, mutually supportive community, basically a network of institutions and individuals who are all engaged in continuous learning about data management, digital scholarship, and research support. The goals of our community are to build skills that will enhance local data services and digital scholarship support. We also want to develop local strategic agendas for data services and digital scholarship, making sure that we're helping the people in the group be action-oriented and base their actions in practice. We also offer consultations as part of the group that enable a deep dive into a local initiative or a pressing question that you have related to data services or digital scholarship. And the way that works is by connecting different members of the group together. And Jason will talk more about that later. And then lastly, connecting with a community of practice who are all engaged in similar activities, program planning, and deploying data services and digital scholarship. The structure is we have a flexible focus between RDM and digital scholarship. Every quarter we'll meet for 90 minutes and each session is structured around a particular topic. We'll have a visit from an invited speaker who's generally a member of our group. And then there will be an in-session discussion and hands-on activity. So we're trying to make it pretty engaged and where you can work on projects that will positively influence your practice. We have some online communications, we have Slack and some coordinated chats at times, and we'll have follow-up readings if you're interested, and then those consultations I talked about. Our first session was September 21st, and Shilpa Rele from Rowan University talked to us about a survey that she did on her campus about research data management needs. And so she talked us through this work that she did and talked about the benefits and impact of the work. And then together, we all worked together to build a roadmap for our data and digital scholarship services locally as a way to sort of plan for some of these environmental scans or other activities that you want to do into the future.
Okay, give me a second. I'm just going to share hello, everyone. I'm Jason Clark. I want to make sure I'm sharing my screen. So I was going to talk a little bit about, as we were re-envisioning parts of this work, this work came from an e-research network cohort. It's kind of an educational model or a setting where we would meet for 6 months as a cohort and dedicated work around the practice of data services and digital scholarship in our organizations. We've since kind of broadened that out to more of a working group model, which is what Sara just introduced. But in the course of reconnecting about what the working group could be, we are starting to survey anybody who's potentially interested and or alumni from that network. So I'm going to show a little bit about the current survey and where it is. I'm also going to invite you, please add your thoughts. We would love to hear from anybody who's just coming to the idea, kind of interested in the stuff that Sara just mentioned, wants to know more. Please take the survey. It's a way to register who you are, your interest, and help guide the group, because this envisioning is really about letting parts of our community lead. Within that research network cohort, we had kind of a curriculum, a syllabus, and it was understood to work around certain concepts that might be of interest to organizations that are looking to implement data services and digital scholarship. But this is a little more open call, and the focus of the group is we're hoping to really identify needs and interests of the community and really work through a mutual aid model to help people move these services forward in their own settings. So the survey itself really looks at a couple of things, but what the things I really want to emphasize here is there's a call there if you want to potentially lead or be part of some of the topics, some of the discussions, but there's an ask inside the survey. We also looked at these are kind of the initial topics that are coming from various previous cohorts and parts of the e-research network, and also the digital scholarship working group itself, which was put together by Lee Bonds and Alex Gill. So things that initially we might talk about or that we have talked about in the past are things like, how do you advocate and promote for these services? How do you get funding? How do you think about project planning? How do you do assessment for these services? And you can just see within this initial survey, there's kind of an interest in pretty much the same type of interest in all of those. Some of the newer ideas that are starting to come from the community are things like, where do you get data viz skills? How do you talk about faculty and student collaboration? And all of these are, how do you think about scholarship or research profiles at the university level? These are really kind of specific ideas that the community is starting to pull forward and say, let's talk more about this. I think, I'm not sure if Sara mentioned logistically, we're thinking like quarterly meetings. So that first meeting that Shilpa was leading, that was in September. The next one would probably be around December. But that topic is still, it might still come from some of these topics because we have potential interest in the community in helping guide what the next topic would be. But again, we're looking for more feedback, even more feedback from people if you have other ideas. So please do contribute to that survey. Just more of a note about past speakers. So people that looked to speak more specifically about digital scholarship opportunities, assessment. Stephanie Wright and Daniel Robinson talked a lot about advocacy in their work with Mozilla and open science initiatives. Occasionally we would have grant officers, program officers, just to talk about what kind of funding might be in this kind of professional setting or in this area of the profession. Ricky Ponzalon talked a number of times about assessment. He's got a really great set of methods and a great, just some great guidance around how do you think about metrics for this kind of thing. And then Aaron Rose-Glass and Amanda Visconti talked on different occasions about digital scholarship, just in general. So another component of this, in addition to the kind of community-led organization or working group that we're looking to build, we are also carrying forward one of the, it's like a mentoring program that we introduced in some of the earlier versions of this idea. And so one of the things we're going to carry forward is this idea of a consultation where so Sara and I will kind of help facilitate and connect people in, part of that survey is also gathering particular skills or expertise that people feel comfortable sharing and guiding or potentially mentoring people around. So what we want to do is pull people together around, if there's a particular question you have about something local, we'd like to facilitate conversations between people so that they can get answers to their questions. So it's a loose mentoring kind of a work, but we really want to carry it forward where you're able to talk with people that have been asking, maybe tried to answer some of the same questions you're starting to ask, or vice versa. And as we know, this can start whenever we're ready. This is not dependent on a quarterly meeting time. It's more or less like, hey, I have this question. Does anybody have expertise that might want to have a conversation with me about it? And we're hoping to kind of bring those partnerships together, those conversations together. There's a link there, I think, that shows describes the consultation model a little more if you are interested. Logistics, we usually just, the way that we communicate right now is a lot of our older materials, our archival materials, are in the Open Science Framework. That's linked here. Our primary communication going forward will be the DLF DDS Google group. You're free to join. It's a listserv. And it's our primary communication between the groups right now. So you can kind of get a sense of, if you have a question, you can ask it there. If you just want to connect and see what's going on, that's the place to start. It's our primary source of communication. And then kind of along these lines, maybe something that'll spin out of the consultations would be additional peer groups and more of a maybe I don't want to say formal mentoring program, but more of a program where you have regular conversations rather than, so the consultations are kind of set on let's talk about a singular question or problem. There might be opportunities to continue those conversations, as the networks develop. So we also asked a number of questions just to kind of keep this on task, because we are introducing ourselves. So there are 3 questions that we were asked to answer. So I'm just going to go through each of them. This first one is on the slide there. You can see it's how the working groups, how it might be different. So one of the things I kind of already mentioned, Sara also mentioned, is we're really looking to community lead. That's something that wasn't as probably prevalent in the e-research network. That was it was just a different cohort model, and there was like a curriculum set and kind of agreed to, or so this is a little more open, and we really want leadership to come from anywhere as far as topics and interests. We still have a real interest in talking about broader theories in the profession, but connecting them to practical solutions. That's something that you'll see. I mean, even as we facilitate the consultations, I think we would emphasize, how do you move from a bigger question to some kind of action? And then we get a lot of great support from the DLF. That we have a program manager, Gail Schechter, who's one of our primary leads. She does a lot of work just making sure we're on task and helping with promotion and all of that. Becca Kwan is another lead there who's super helpful. And then we also, Sara and I, the cohort idea and the e-research network was really formally championed by Bethany Novisky. So it's something that, even she's not a current lead of DLF, but we just want to thank her for her support. Some of the most important things for you to know. So the mutual learning model is something that we want to emphasize. And I already kind of talked about the origin of this idea inside of a cohort group. So there's precedent for parts of this, but also we're looking for the group to take us where they need to. Shared leadership again, hands-on activities. So like the typical session might be 90 minutes. We'll have a speaker on a particular topic that's of interest to the group, and then some kind of activity, some kind of practical activity that is maybe thinking about how to implement the bigger picture of what was just presented. And again, just an emphasis on a community of practice. And then Sara and I had this discussion last week. What's the one word we would say about this? And I think right now, it's really about growth. And so it's, how do we think about these emerging services? Some people are much further along than others as far as data and digital scholarship. But there's also an opportunity here to reshape this working group and grow as a community. And then again, in that re-envisioning, just thinking through how do we want to grow the profession in this way. So that's kind of where it's all about growth at this point. That's really our introduction. So if Sara doesn't have anything else, I think we'll kind of close, and then I'm actually going to pull up, just have it on the screen, our that survey, because we would love to hear more from all of you, and we're looking forward to this year together. So that's it for now. See you all soon.